Hello, this is Steve from Beato's Leatherworks. Today's project is we've got a Tom Ford alligator shoes. We're going to do resoling. Also, same customer. We've got a Prada alligator shoe. We're going to do resoling. Now we've done this pair, another pair in the past with a purple sole. Some of you might remember, the same customer. So I think this one we're going to do an orange bottom, and this one's going to be a blue bottom. All right, let's get started. Now this one we're going to do heel lining. Heel lining is back here basically. Now most of the time when we do this job, we get a piece of leather, okay, and we simply put it on the back of the heel and then stitch the top. But this one, we're not going to be able to do that. You see it's got a curved pattern, the light area there. See, there's no stitches on the top of the shoe here. So basically what that is, that the lining, the two pieces were stitched together, then put inside the shoe, and then the top stitch. So we got to figure out something to remove that and try to duplicate that and make it work. All right, something to think about. This is a heel prior. One of the viewers was asking, is this an oyster chucker? Well, I'm sure it's got a similar family trait, but no. They call it a heel prior. It pries heels. Come on now. Sometimes it pries heels. Not all the time. Like now, didn't want to come off. Now this shoe basically is stitched underneath this right here, and these are just kind of dummy stitches, as we call them, because it's not holding on to anything. As you can see, it just flops open. I don't know why some manufacturers do that. I mean, if you're going to stitch it, just stitch the shoe, you know? But when we get done, it'll have a stitch all the way around. It'll secure it pretty well. Now this one has a very thin welt, which we're going to reuse. This is a spine basically, right? Like a spine. It's nothing structural. It just gives it that little bit of a curvature on the sole once the new leather comes down. So we're going to reuse that. And this is the piece I was telling you about. See this little thin piece right here? That's a welt. Okay, it makes it look like it's a lot thicker than it is. We call that a fake welt. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, you know, a lot of manufacturers do that. But it's not really there structurally. It's just basically, it makes the shoe a little bit thicker than what it is. Trying to pull these staples out instead of cutting them. So I'm going to remove the footbed so I can get to the back of the heel lining. Now, this is a Blake stitched construction. The uppers come under the footbed, the sole comes on, and it's stitched together. So if you remove the footbed, okay, everything just comes apart. So it's really important to be careful when you're taking something apart like this. Make sure you put it in the same place, because if you pull the uppers too tight, now it's going to change the size of the foot, or if you don't put it back where it is, you know, make it a little wider. So, and try not to drop the shoe. So basically we're just going to remove this footbed here. Now most people say, you know, you shouldn't do a job like this without a shoe last, right? A shoe last is this right here. Well, this is a boot last, but you get the idea. That way you can pull the uppers back on top of the last. It's not necessary, not in this job anyway. Yeah, it'd be nice to have that exact same shape. But you know what? There are so many different shapes out there. It's almost impossible to have everything in stock. There are little staples they put on the shank area. Most people don't go to this extent to get to the heel lining, and I don't either sometimes. You know, it just depends on the job. But this particular one, I won't take that apart. And you got all these little nails right there holding that back piece, and we're going to remove every one of them. Alright, let's speed this up a little bit. Alright, basically what I came up with is that I'm going to cut this right here, and then just replace the back. Okay, similar style it is now. I mean, I could have just put a piece of leather right there, right? But you know what? Sometimes I overthink jobs. And, I don't know. I just think I want to keep it very similar to what it was. We have to make a new insole for it too, which is this piece here. I mean, this is pretty fairly simple. It's just a piece of leather, but you've got stitches that's going all the way around and an inner stitch right here. So we're going to try to duplicate that. Again, do we have to? No. But I tend to do things a little differently. Just a little. Alright. Use a little turpentine just to kind of release the glue. Because after years of wearing, you know, pushing the foot pushing against the leather piece, it's pretty tight in there, and I'm not going to tear anything more than what I need to. This kind of releases the glue a little bit. There we go. Alright. Okay. Now you guys can see the piece, right? You see how it's got the curve, suede there, and the smooth leather there? So we're going to try to duplicate that. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so this is what I came up with. Okay? Now I would have loved to do the jagged edges like the manufacturer did, but I couldn't find my zigzag scissors. So this is going to have to work. Now we've smoothed out the edges of the two leathers, skived them basically when they overlap. It's not such a big hump right there because You don't want the back of the heel rubbing against the back of the heel. Now, basically the new and the old leather pieces are going to butt against each other. Just like this. Sometimes I overlap it a little bit, but we're going to put it right next to each other this time. So, I think it'll be fine. We just have to kind of stretch that leather, the new piece of leather, to kind of give it a curvature to match the existing shape, because it's not flat. This is the back of the heel. But they shape that, you know, during the lasting process of the, you know, when they're making the new shoe. So that's why it's all curved now. It started out as a flat piece of leather, just like it is what we're doing now. We'll make it fit. There's a will, there's a way. Somebody said that. There's a will, there's a way. I'm sure. Who came up with that? I gotta look into that. There's a will, there's a way. I guess I got Will. Who's Will? Oh. It's just a word. It's not a person. It's too early in the morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. So I'm a little loopy. Usually open the shop at 10 o'clock and it's like 5-ish something. I kind of like to come in and just, you know, be at peace with myself here. No phone calls, no interruptions. I mean, interruptions are good, it's part of business, but you know what I mean. Alright, so we're going to put this in the position while the glue is still wet, okay? And don't drop the shoe. Because when the glue is still wet, we can kind of move the leather piece around however we choose to. When it's too dry, then once it's in there, it's in there. It's not going to, you got to take it all back out again, which we don't want to do. I don't like taking my work apart. I mean, if I have to, I will, of course, but I just don't like it. Alright. I'm going to try to position that as close as we can, butting next to each other. It's being a little stubborn. It's got to be the right position or else it's not going to work. Okay. Time to bring in the big guns. Pliers. Or nippers. What do we call these things? Nice. I cut that piece. Now I gotta redo that. Let's continue. Alright, so let's take a look at this one here. This is just a shoe tree. Okay. I've left this a little bit high, but I can cut this off, not a problem. Put that little, that curvature spine back in. Put a little cork to kind of fill in the voids here. There's your welt. Okay, now it's important that when you're re-gluing this welt back in, it needs to be in the exactly same spot. So that's why you keep the old sole, okay? Because when you're gluing it on there, you don't hammer it down just yet. You just position it into the place, and you put the sole on top of the original sole on top of it to make sure that it's exactly the same size. Because if it's not, if it's too wide, too narrow, it's going to lose shape of the shoe, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep that original nice shape. All right. Now we got the sole cut out. Stamp the name. Okay. Now these two are going to be partially blind stitched, which means that we're going to open the channel from like here to the front. The rest of the stitches are going to be exposed like it was originally. But mine are going to be stitched, not fake stitched. I guess it's just a cost issue, I don't know. Oh, and we made the insoles for it also. Where's the original one? Now, it's not the same color, I agree, but that's all I had, as close as I could get, unfortunately. I think it'll look nice once it goes on there with the back of the heel, all pretty and neat. Let the customer wear it down and abuse it one more time. Well, he's going to wear it. I mean, they're meant to be worn. Some people really baby their shoes, which is okay. It's up to them, man. Everybody's to each his own. But to me, I mean, they're shoes. You got to wear them. Sure, take care of them once in a while. But to be tippy-toeing around so you don't get dirt or scratch on them is kind of a little crazy. They are shoes after all. You're going to get a scratch. You're going to get nicks. You're going to get dirt. It's normal. They're shoes. But yes, you need to keep them looking good. So this is it. That's how you remove this little leather piece. It's a thin piece of leather, but man, it makes a big difference when it's finished. We'll just glue that back together because it was two pieces there, it looks like. You guys ever had like a song stuck in your head and it just doesn't want to leave? I think this is from Soundgarden. Yeah, I'm going way back, way back. Well, I can't say that's the name of the song. I think then YouTube will have an issue with me singing the song. Well, you guys might have an issue too if you hear me sing this. If you heard me sing the song. I'm not a good singer. Thank God. I mean, I could be if I wanted to, I guess. I just have to practice. Oh, I think it's a little too late for me to have a singing career. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Alright, so it's the Prada time. This is done very similar to the Tom Ford. It's probably done in the same manufacturer, believe it or not. It's very similar. All these manufacturers usually will have, you know, coming out of the same place, just putting different names on them. This sucker is tight. She is tight. Jeez. Sometimes they push through easily and sometimes they bend. Alright. The rest we'll take out when we remove the sole. We don't want to leave those nail heads in there. Let's see if we can start from the back. Okay, we can just peel it off on the back. These have been done before. Somebody put thin rubber soles on top of them, but I shouldn't be able to lift the sole up without cutting the stitches. But unfortunately, when they put the sole on, they sanded it and the stitches broke, which they should have restitched back, and they didn't. When you're doing a thin rubber sole on top of a stitched sole, if you break the stitches, you have to restitch it again before you put the sole guard on top. Yeah, some people don't do that, but you really should, because that's what's holding the shoe together, is the stitch. Well, it looks like they just sanded that one side, which is, well, it's not okay, but at least it's not the whole shoe that they broke the stitch when they were sanding it. And you know, the customer doesn't see the stitches after the thin rubber is put on top of it, you know what I mean? So alright, cool. Now this one doesn't have a welt on it, right? It's going to be a one-piece leather. Now we can push the nails through. So now this style of shoe, when I say this style, hold on, I'll show you in a second. Okay, let's get the lost nails out of there. Of course, the last nail is going to be stubborn. Oh, come on now. Jeez. Come on out, will you? And it's out. Okay, so remember the other sole had a thin welt on there, right? So we glued it on top of the sole. So that gave us that round shape that we got to go cut across, accordingly that size. Now, this one doesn't have that piece. So what's going to happen is when I put a sole on, I'm going to have to trim this exactly the shape of the heel. Okay, which is going to require more time to do. This is a little bit more, not difficult, more time-consuming job rather than the other one, because we already had a guideline of that little leather piece, so we knew exactly what shape the sole was going to be. This one doesn't have it. Well, what's the difference? It's nothing really different at all. It's just some manufacturers do it this way, that's all. Some of the more like the Italian loafers, which will have a one-piece leather similar to this style. So what some people do in my business is that, and I've done it at the same time also, they'll cut this off right here underneath the heel, okay, and then they'll splice the old to the new to keep that shape there, so it's a lot easier to do. But we're not going to do that this time. I don't know why. We're just not. So I don't want to. I have my name on it, by the way. Well, I have Prada on there, but not my name, but you know what I mean. I try to remove all this old stitches from the old sole. You don't want to leave them in there. Some people do. It's not too big of a deal, but still, if I can get to them, I will remove them. Somebody said, fix your compressor. Leaks air here and there, so what? I'll get to it one of these days. One more project. My projects never end. Thank God. Alright, let's continue. Alright, now we get to open the blind stitch like this one. Actually, you know what? Let's close this one. Basically, partial blind stitch, meaning that only part of the sole will be opened up. Let me close this one before it gets, and then we put glue on it and we close the channel back up. Now get rid of the air pockets on the welt. Beautiful. Once it gets sanded and smoothed out, you'll never tell that it was opened up. It's getting there, slowly but surely. Alright, let's see if we can do this one without messing it up. Excuse me. Now, even though I'm pulling the knife towards my thumb, but I'm not pushing the thumb that way against the blade. If it slips, my hand slips, which means the thumb and the knife will be in the same place. It won't be pushing against the blade. Some people get nervous that, you know, I have my thumb in front of the blade. It's not like that. It may look like that, but it's not. Now, have I cut myself? Of course. Part of the job. If you can see that. See that? Well, it was deep, but didn't go too deep, thank God. I was cutting something with a bigger knife, and it slipped and just literally cut right across my forearm there. It happens. You're dealing with tools and sharp objects. It's going to happen. Very dense leather. I tend to cut a little bit thicker because, so what happens is that some manufacturers, when they do blind stitch, they do it really thin, peel it back. But when the customer wears that a couple of times, that piece of leather kind of peels back. And they do it, they cut it right on top of the sole where they open the leather. I tend to do mine right in the corner, so when it comes together like this, you can hardly tell that it was a cut. And I do a little bit thicker than normal, so that there's no chance of it peeling back. I mean, once it wears off, you know, it'll peel back. No, but not under just regular couple times of use. I'm not sure what's going on with my videos, because some people are saying it's in 360p or something. It's really not. I'm downloading it at 1080p. So some of the viewers said that YouTube usually takes a while for it to to kind of change it over to 1080p. I'm not sure, but it is being recorded at 1080p, guys, not 360 or 720. I think it's time though for me to see if I can get a camera and do it a little bit better. Problem is, it's not just getting the camera. Getting the camera is not a problem. It's actually learning a new process where I've got to maybe download it on a computer. I don't know, which is going to require more time, you know, which I don't have. But I guess I'm going to have to make time if I want to get a better quality video. All right, so we're gonna open a channel now, stitch it and glue that back, and keep going. Let's continue. Can you guys see what I'm doing? That's what we call the Blake stitch. Blake stitch basically goes from inside of the shoe, just like that, to the outside. And an outsole stitch stitches from the outside of the shoe. Okay? Alright, let's continue. On these Yep, that's what he wants it. Orange. You want it orange. He's got orange. Man, that is orange. I'll tint it down a little bit, but we gotta give what the customer wants. After all, it is his shoes. It's not mine. He's the one's going to be wearing it, not me. Alright, now we'll get to nail the heels from inside. These are threaded nails, right? They got threads on them. Or ring shank nails, as some people call it. That's what the Pradas had on there. It was a bear to get out. You guys saw me struggling trying to pop that heel off. That's what was on there. This one did not. The Tom Ford. It had regular nails. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but I prefer mine to have the threads on them, so it's a lot harder to remove or come loose, you know? It's not going to come off, but over time, these do kind of, you know, they do shift a little bit. I'm talking about the heels. And if it's got a regular heel on it, a regular nail on it, smooth nail, sometimes it comes loose. Beautiful. Alright, that is done. Well, the heel's done anyway. Now we get to sand it, finish it. Put our insoles in, cut the edge, condition it, and we are done. We'll clean this up a little bit on the sides. We're not going to see any orange on the sides of the soles. Alright, let's continue. Alright, welcome back. So we're done with these projects, two of them. Now this is a beautiful shoe. They're both beautiful shoes. This one is blue. In real life it looks really blue, but in the video it looks pretty dark. So, and he wanted blue bottoms and he got them. We put some insoles in there for him too. This is the Tom Ford. Again, it's a beautiful shoe. I like the way it turned out. Then he wanted orange bottoms. And we put new insole in there for him also. And the heel lining in the back. You guys remember when I took that apart? Alright, so this particular pair cost $580. Okay. And then the blue one cost $460. Okay. I think they turned out real nice, and I think the customer's going to be real happy. Once again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Any you want to comment, share, we'd appreciate it. And if you have a specific job, specific question about a job, please email me, vitos@yahoo.com. and I'll sure to answer all your questions. All right, thank you again. We'll see you. Take care.